Non-Muslims take exception. I've noticed, and I've heard them say it explicitly, uh, that they take exception to being called kufar. That's interesting, because they don't take any particular exception to being referred to as goyim by the Jews. It's quite telling. I mean, they never translate goyim to infidel, but they like to do that with the word kafir or kufar, because it evokes a sort of medieval mindset, a zealot mentality, and they feel offended by the word. That's their fitra talking. Their fitra is offended. And then that objection internally is translated through their pride and their ego and their sense of superiority. And then it morphs into a kind of indignation over feeling that they're being looked down upon by people whom they look down upon. Because we're supposed to admire them. We're supposed to defer to them. We're supposed to want their approval and their acceptance. And when they hear themselves being referred to as kufar, they feel disrespected by their inferiors. And again, they don't feel that way when Jews call them goyim. They can't understand it, but the fact that they get offended by being called kufar by Muslims, more than they get offended by being called goyim by Jews, is an involuntary admission that they know Islam is the truth. And that word, kufar, makes them subconsciously self-conscious about their denial of Islam. It draws attention to the fact that they're on the wrong path, and that makes them uncomfortable. Because the word does not mean infidel. Linguistically, it means basically someone who covers up the truth, who conceals reality, because that's what you do. That's what you do. You lie and obfuscate and spin and misrepresent and deflect and use euphemisms all the time about everything. You craft narratives. You weave alternative realities. You hide facts. You talk about your truth, not the truth. You came up with the phrase perception is reality, as if objective reality doesn't exist. And then you spend all your time trying to manage perceptions. It's just endless lying. And all the while, claiming yourselves to be the most rational, the most reasonable, the most empirical people who ever lived. But what you don't understand, or can't understand, is that increasingly, your pathological lying and disconnection from objective reality is making everyone else in the world see you as delusional. So, I myself, and this is just personal to me, it's not a distinction that we would make in the religion, but personally, I generally use the word kufar to refer to more active, aggressive liars. And I use the term non-Muslim to refer to the people who are more passively just drowning in all the lies. Good people who are victimized in their own ability to understand reality because of the incessant deception and distortion that they are subjected to from the cradle to the grave. Because as I said, they have had cognitive dissonance inflicted on them their whole lives. Just an endless, relentless barrage of deceit, spin, and obfuscation 24/7, all day, every day. I mean, if you've ever read the Kubark Manual of Interrogation Techniques by the CIA, you can't help but notice those techniques proliferating in mainstream news and media programming. It's uncanny. It's programmed to disorient you, to put your critical mind in a state of zero gravity, to where you can't distinguish what matters from what doesn't matter. Watch the news, you'll see what I mean. There'll be a story about a famine, immediately followed by a story about some celebrity getting a tattoo. 12 people are killed in a mass shooting. Oh, and someone finds a potato that looks like George Washington. The important and the trivial are juxtaposed side by side in rapid succession, and the presenter changes his or her mood like flipping a light switch. Happy, then serious. Amused, then upset. Delighted, then sober. In the blink of an eye. It's disorienting. It's bewildering. It's damaging. And never mind the way the news is actually covered. More often than not, that's exactly what they do. They cover the news. They manipulate language to conceal instead of reveal the facts. I work in PR, so I know how this works. News outlets do not care about the truth. They don't care about facts. They want a good story. A good story that will bring an audience whom they can then deliver to advertisers. That's all it's about. I work with journalists all the time, and they're maybe the most uninformed people that you will ever meet. They themselves are disoriented half the time, you know. These days, even social commentators, social critics, have become entertainment. They become celebrified. I would say that between 80% and 90% of opinions that are expressed online are actually reproduced opinions, copied and pasted from like the 10 to 20% of people online who are producing content, which basically crafts the sort of official line for this or that opinion group across the political spectrum. And people just regurgitate those arguments, regurgitate those opinions, as if they're their own. People are walking around here with thoughts in their heads that did not originate in their heads, but they actually believe that they are thinking for themselves. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal what the West is doing to their people. And every time they attack Islam, every time I read, comments or articles slandering Islam with, the usual accusations that it's violent, it's oppressive to women, it's intolerant, and what have you, I never interpret that as an attack against us. I interpret it as an attack against your own people. It's a desperate attempt to try to prevent people from understanding reality, from understanding the truth, from finding their way out of the system that is controlling them, out of the system that's manipulating them. They don't want people to find the cure because power depends on you being sick. Power depends on you being disoriented. Power depends on you being confused. So they have to instill hatred, They have to instill fear. They have to instill suspicion, distrust for the thing that can actually liberate people from under their control. Hatred for the thing, for the belief system that actually tells the truth, that actually calls things by what they are, that actually provides clarity and recognition and understanding. I mean, what's the last thing that a liar would want you to do? If someone's trying to run a con on you, the last thing that they want you to do is to talk to someone who knows that they're conning you. If someone is, say, pretending to be an expert about something, then the last thing that they would want you to do is to talk to an actual expert. They'll say, well, whatever you do, don't talk to that guy. Don't talk to so-and-so. If that's the person who could tell you the truth and ruin their con, they'll never want you to talk to that person. They try to make you hate him. They try to make you fear him, distrust him. They'd slander him and make up all kinds of stories to make you think that he was a terrible person with no credibility, just to make sure that you never engage with him, so you would never get the information that you needed to save yourself from being taken advantage of, from being conned. Well, that's the way I see it when they attack Islam. They're attacking you, not us. They're just trying to keep you under their control. Those are what I would call, hardcore, dyed-in-the-wool kufar, covering up the truth aggressively to keep other non-Muslims subject to their completely unqualified and fabricated authority. That's the irony, People will say that they reject Islam or they reject religion because it's just an instrument of control. Meanwhile, their rejection of Islam, their rejection of religion, is itself a manifestation of them being controlled. They put all the thoughts and opinions in your head and then call you an independent critical thinker. But just see what happens if you actually start thinking for yourself and venture beyond the parameters of accepted discourse, or worst of all, if you embrace Islam, why they will call you unstable, crazy, troubled, extremist, and every other derogatory name in the book to discredit you. It's so predictable, and it's so transparent. It's all a control mechanism. And you'll go through life living in complete conformity with it. Complete conformity with that control, and imagining to yourself that you're free and independent. That's kufr. That's living a lie. And your fitra, your innate nature, will rebel the whole time, and you won't understand why. You'll feel it. You'll feel depressed. You'll feel stressed. You'll be angry. You'll feel lost and empty, and search for any kind of way to find meaning and purpose, because your soul is desperate for nourishment. But when you're looking for nourishment, you're going to have to only select from the items on the menu that they give you. So your job, your career, material success, financial prosperity, praise, fame, beauty, aesthetics, fitness, sports, achievement in this or that futile and pointless competition. Clicks, likes, social media following, whatever. Standing up straight with your shoulders back. Cleaning your room. On and on. All of the things that society gives you as substitutes for what you really need. But the thing that your soul is missing isn't any of these things. It's truth. It's clarity. It's being able to make sense of the world. It's being able to escape from all the lies. Being connected to the truth is a fundamental human need. But what happens in the West when you even start to move in that direction? You'll find pseudo-intellectuals having debates about whether truth is something that's even a thing. I'm telling you, they've got you boxed in. It's diabolical. Now, I know a lot of non-Muslims will understand what I'm saying. They'll relate to it. They'll relate to what I'm saying, because I know you feel it. So, maybe you should look at what they most want you not to look at. The thing that they most want you to fear and hate and loathe and despise and disregard. The thing that's banned from being considered in social discourse. Because that's probably where you'll find the truth. And I can't think of anything that's more regarded in the West as an unacceptable way of life than Islam. That ought to tell you something. Now, I'm not making da'wah. I'm not a da'i. I don't care if people convert to Islam or not. I honestly don't care. I analyze geopolitics. I analyze economics. I analyze political situations and current affairs. And this is the way I analyze it. This is what's happening to you in the West. This is what they're doing to you in the West. And this is why. So that's why we say kufar. Because you hide the truth. You hide it from each other, and you hide it from yourselves. It's a factual identification. And you can deny it if you like. But you and I both know that I'm telling the truth.